All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is part two of the Jenux tutorial with Orca. And in the last tutorial, I walked you through quite a few things. On the keyboard help, the editing in Pluma. We did some stuff with synthesizers. I mean, we talked about how to go in and really configure Orca to meet the needs for synthesizer users, how to configure that properly. And so that's what we did, and that's how we did it. And we did so with ease. And so now our next experimentation, and I do apologize, folks, for occasional pausing and other things. I'm still nursing some rough health, so if I seem a little off kilter, that's why. I said that in part two, and this is going to be a shorter part, that we're going to talk about how to do some things in the command line. We're going to try to make some things happen. Now, I'm going to do a couple of things.
Not checked.
I'm going to do that for a second while I make
Screen
some
reader
changes
OK
in
button.
Orca. And then
General voice speech braille page tab full speech page tab 3 of 8. Braille echo page to enable echo mic enable key echo checkbox enable checked. Enable key echo checked. Echo OK button alt plus O. Screen reader settings reloaded. Ops 31 DOTHUNDR. Volume slot mute desktop audio checkbox not checked.
All right. And now we're here. So in the terminal, we're going to do some work with the command line, and we're going to try to make some things happen. We're going to start with some basic commands. We're going to review the output, and then we're going to try some more complex commands, including how to change the boot sound in Jenux. So we'll start with the first thing, which is how to launch terminal. Now, earlier we launched terminal to do a basic application launch command for Pluma, the text editor. However, because we're not doing any text editing in this realm, or this round at least, Shift-Alt-Control-T will pull up the terminal. And ZSH is the system it uses instead of bash. Instead of running the bash queue, it sounds like it just says ZSH instead of bash. So the next phase on this line is I'm going to do for a command. We talked about how to launch Pluma, but I'm just going to type in a simple command. I want the terminal to spit out what I type. Well, to do that, we'll type the word echo, and Orca should read this back, as you'll see in a minute. And what I want it to say, which is the video for YouTube. Press enter. You're gonna hear some repeated audio for a second here, because I'm gonna. Okay. Me with the sensitive ears tonight. Go figure. All right, so now we've had it echo the contents of that particular command. But what if we want to review what came out? So let's do a caps lock I first to see where we're at on the current line. Press caps lock U. Oh. Command I twice, or rather, caps lock I twice quickly, caps lock I 3 times. All right. So now we're going to um, try to type something that requires us to actually enter in a command to stop it. Now you're going to hear my voice twice for just a second, but I'm going to type in play -qd, press enter. Now you should hear me twice because the terminal is playing back my audio through sound exchange. Commands, or rather Control C. And that stops the sound from repeating back to the system. Um, Now, if I really wanted to break my voice, play now if I talk, a slower version of me will speak. Okay, preferably we don't want a demonic me. So we've gotten rid of that by hitting Control C. If you ever end up in a place with a screen that you don't understand at a command line, before ever entering a choice, hit Control C and review the prior command you typed. Make sure that it's exactly what you want to type. If you type sudo space su for the first time, in fact, you get prompted with that you've heard the conversations about with great power comes great responsibility. And the reason for that is simply because people are often curious what the command can do. The easiest way to explain command line versus non-command line. Command line is like a toolbox. When you go to work on your house, you take out different tools and you want to build things. You want to start somewhere. You want to build, whether it's a structure, skyscraper, whatever it is you want to build. And you want to build that structure as easy as possible. Well, unfortunately, what happens with building is if you misuse a tool, it breaks, and it means your whole operation is slightly squandered. Well, that is how command line is. Command line, you're going through every detail of your system, and you're building on that foundation. The only foundation you have is the operating system. And as long as you know how to use the tools given to you, you're able to do just about anything with it. So now, what if we want to play different sound frequencies, or rather, not different sound frequencies, play different sound frequencies? What if we want to install a package? Well, I happen to know that there is a particular voice that I want to get off of Daniel's repository. So if I want to get that particular thing, I can actually do one of two things. And in this case, I'm going to do a command here, which is sudo Now this is where it gets interesting. Sudo is basically a super user. Basically, super user sudo launches the super user for the command because it can't install everything without administrative access. So I'm going to type pacman for package manager, and this is spelled PAC. Now, what I did there is once I knew what word I wanted to fill in, it filled in the rest when I hit the tab key. In a command line, if you ever get to a point where you need to add more, hit the tab key. Now, you might ask, well, what does this have to do with Orca? I want you to pay attention as a blind user, or if you're listening to this, because remember, there's no video on purpose. You are looking at this or listening to this the way a blind user listens to this. If you have no sight at all. Now, if you have some vision, you would look at the screen and see the text. Now, having said this, tab is autofill. Orca announces the rest of the text that's getting printed into the command box. So now, if I press the Enter key, we should hear plenty of feedback from Orca. And so we'll press Enter. Okay, sudo password for WebRoll. And I'm just entered my password. By the way, passwords are not spoken for the security of users. So, nope. In case you wanted it, nope, not getting it. Press the Enter key. Okay, proceed with installation. So now it's going to download Votrax. I've already got Speak and Spell. And by the way, I can tell it to install any voice suite I want. Hit H, rather hit Y, and press return. All right, so I just stopped it. You get the idea. So as the file's downloading, the output is printing at such a high rate of speed that what Orca is doing is just reading that output all the way through. It's just reading the output from top to bottom. And at this point, it's not, it's keeping up and doing exactly what it needs to do. Likewise, let's try that same command with installing uh, Audacity. And you're probably going, well, why do you need Audacity if you have Sound Exchange? If you are wanting to use Orca effectively, it's best to have apps it knows and recognizes. Audacity is a standard editor which comes with many different systems, and it is quite awesome, as a matter of fact, what it's capable of doing. So there you go. In that respect, Audacity is also cross-platform. It's open source, and most Linux distros, except for those that do not focus on sound as their primary focus, and that's as well as other things like that, tend to use Audacity. So Audacity is a core app, and we are consequentially going to install this core app. To do that, I'm going to type in the following command. I'm going to type in, matter of fact, I'm going to type in sudo. After first, let's do command, rather caps lock I. Okay, so it installed. So that's okay. Okay, so I hit the control key to silence the speech. Now I'm going to do caps lock I and read the last line of input. Okay, so it's still installing. Remember that Orca's review cursor will always be at the last line as new data gets printed to the command line. If you are using a screen reader such as Fenrir or eSpeakUp, this also applies, so please note that what I'm telling you is applicable to the shell. When you drop to the shell, you'll always have speech output. Um, by the way, if you're wondering, okay, that's okay. Let's see if it actually installed it despite what it just said. Oh, wait a minute. All right, now I'll Alt F4 out of there. That's how you can check to see if something's in the menu. So now Audacity is installed. I promised you that I would show you how to change boot sound. Commonly, the Star Wars Imperial March is the default sound. Now, I need to warn you that throughout this recording, I am not using the internal microphone. In the past recording, which was actually a live stream, I actually had used the Acer Nitro 5 laptop with a sound card that was internalized. So you could hear the tones if I had done this in the earlier session. You will not hear these in the recording, but please note that you will hear them on your sound card. This assumes, of course, that your sound card supports PC speaker. Actually, it's critical that your sound card does, or that your computer does. The reason it's critical is because that sound is the sound that tells you that your system is about to boot. So, what about that boot sound? Well, by default, it's set to Imperial March, although I've made a minor change. To mine. So I'm going to type in There we go. Change dash boot dash sound. That's in the terminal. Now I press return. Now I need to point out this is where what synth you use can be a factor. For the purposes of this demonstration and accuracy, I am going to change synthesizers and we're going to hope that Piper can give us some results. Actually, what we're going to do is I'm going to rebrand the terminal after I do this. By the way, case in point, if you need to restart Orca, Daniel on the Jenux build has put in a script to allow you to restart Orca with Alt Control O. That command will actually stop and restart Orca at the same time. It runs a kill all, then it relaunches Orca right out of the gate. This is called a shortcut key. You can make shortcut keys do anything in Linux, so you can know enough to be quite dangerous, actually. All right, we're going to do Alt Control Shift T. Pull up the. Actually, first we're going to change synthesizers. And I said Piper, but actually, okay, I have switched synths to Deck Talk, actually. Um, so we're going to go ahead and use Deck Talk for the duration of this recording. I'm going to Alt Shift Control T back into the terminal. Now, what should happen, if all worked right, Weberroll tilde and Perper at ZHS. So, or ZSH, I should say. Okay, so that's what I wanted. Now I'm going to launch the change dash boot dash sound. And if all worked properly, Deck Talk should follow me. Press return. Okay. Now, depending on what synth you're using, if you're using, and we might actually change synths again. I didn't expect we'd be doing that, but that's okay. Okay, so the option I have here is preview and change. Now, I switched synths because for those who don't know, the first thing that should come up, if this works correctly, is it'll say your current grub tune is, and then it'll give you a laundry list of what options are there. The first thing it says is preview, and the second option is change. Well, I know I want to change this. If I press return, it'll just play the sound. But I'm going to go down to change and press return. Simple beep. Okay, it played the sound, and then it asked me, do I want to use this sound on startup? And I can answer yes or no. Why yes, press return. And it's this is where I'm going to hit control because a lot of feedback, a lot of input came in just now. You can let that read if you want and pause this recording and come back at your leisure. In fact, I do encourage anybody that has the ability to download this video, I encourage you to do that. Hit like and subscribe for those who are not followers on my channel yet. Like, subscribe, comment, do what you can. Bring in some people. But when you come back, okay, I leave a long enough pause here, so hopefully you pause the recording and then let it finish reading and come back. You should now have this screen. I have sudo password for WebORL. Now, I do apologize. I know it's not the most ideal speech, but I switched this to this, so at least you'd have a partial better understanding of what is being used. Now, we're using Piper with the old Votrax, but more or less Braille and Speak sounding voice. That's why it sounds monotone, and that's why it sounds like that. So I'm going to go ahead and type the password in. It should just, all right, press return. Okay, so that whole sequence, and I'll change my speech back here momentarily, but that whole sequence took about a good 5 minutes to do and complete. Let's change my synthesizer. We again do apologize. Actually, we'll change the voice. All right, and excuse me. All right, so now the next phase, the next recording, part 3, is going to be how to we're actually going to talk about how to browse the internet, how to do website browsing. We'll do a search on DuckDuckGo. Then we'll do a search on YouTube. And then we will attempt to do a web search, or rather a website visitation with automatic text responses in Chat GPT. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Jenux Orca tutorials. These tutorials will be continuously updated as we add more content. For more content like this, as well as additional stuff, we'll be continuing to add 2 other platforms. We'll add Accessible Coconut and Slackware. Unfortunately, with the Slackware, because we do not recall if OBS Studio works under Slackware, so we'll have to use separate hardware and software together to record and patch. Watching and listening to my audio when it does get uploaded will be Jessica Mangan, and you have heard her voice in prior videos. To my left is Haley Turney. Next to me on the side, Nesma Alley. These 3 make up a wonderful household of people. If you guys ever get a chance, they all have YouTube channels. Haley will be putting up videos, I'm sure, on hers at some point. So please like, subscribe, and follow them as much as you do me, so that they can get more content as well. Don't forget that Jess has got 2 accounts, the Blind Simmer, the Blind Crafter 85. And please have fun listening to those, the videos that come into those, Blind Crafter 85 and Blind Simmer. She will be putting a lot more content as it becomes available. We ended each. Did not do this on the last video, but we will on this one. We'll end this with again a reminder of how you can contact me. I am on Telegram via Chinmouth86, via Discord at weboroll.londini, on the platform for YouTube, of course. You can always send me a message over here, and Jessica will be signed into my account. So if I don't see it, she will likely see it, and she'll be able to let me know, and we'll help and collaborate and reply and what have you to you. And if you have any questions about accessibility and certain applications, in part 5, we'll talk about GQRX, the software-defined radio program. In part 6, we're going to discuss how to do how to use the command line to make certain tasks happen. We'll actually attempt to do a software update and show you how it's done with specific packages. We'll also explain how to record with Audacity. That's part 7. How to record, play, and edit in Audacity with Linux. That's part 7. In part 8, we're going to discuss how to play audio files using VLC, Videoland Media Player. Part 9, we're going to review Team Talk, the voice chat application we use on the Linux platform. And then we'll discuss in the last part, which is part 10, we will discuss advanced Orca stuff involving key bindings, and we'll get you into these. I cannot guarantee how frequent these will be added in here right now. So if they come fast and furious, that means we're doing good. But if not, there are reasons. Barring any health issues, we'll try to get these done as quickly as possible. So you guys enjoy it. Stay with us, because part 3 is browsing the web with Orca. If you wish to get the Jenux operating system and install it for yourself, please do so at https://nashcentral.duckdns.org. On his website, he does provide contact information, including a phone number and an email if you have any questions about the operating system and need his assistance with regard to the operating system. Like, subscribe, and comment to this YouTube channel. Please understand that the contents provided in this channel are those of Brandon Hennis, the voice of the channel, and thank you for listening to this live coverage, this live video, or for that matter, this recorded video from the depths of nowhere in particular. This is Brandon Hennis reporting, saying so long for now, and thank you for listening to this video detailing Orca and the Jenux operating system.